Good day, beautiful soul family, and welcome back to the discovery of the miracles beneath the surface. All the honor and all the glory and praise goes to our Heavenly Father in King Yeshua's name. Beautiful soul family. There is much happening.
Netanyahu, Iran burned the statue of Baal to declare war on us. I mean, there's no way this is real, right?
Iranians set fire to statues of Baal, the same name that appeared in the Epstein files. This Wednesday, Iran marked the 47th anniversary of the Islamic Revolution, and thousands of people flooded the streets of Tehran in a celebration filled with symbolism. Images of Trump and Netanyahu were placed on the ground alongside American and Israeli flags. Protesters also displayed mock coffins draped in U.S. flags, bearing the names and photos of senior American military commanders. Among the most striking scenes were wooden statues carrying photos of Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump, labeled with the name Baal. The name Baal previously surfaced in documents linked to Epstein, allegedly as part of a bank account name, though some now claim it may have been a clerical error. Baal, known historically as an ancient pagan deity often associated with evil, became a focal point as several of these statues were set ablaze. Crowds chanted against the United States and Israel as the effigies burned. All of this comes as Trump signals plans to deploy additional warships closer to Iran, escalating tensions even further.
The people of Iran burned the statue of Baal. Man, y'all take a look at this. Burn that thing. Burn that thing. I don't know what they were saying in that chant, but we're just going to stop it right there. But we see, y'all, Jesus is Lord. The darkness will be destroyed. The kingdom of darkness will be destroyed. Satan and all of his angels will be destroyed. If y'all like content like this, follow for more.
In this day and age, in this time frame. And Yahuwah, he showed me something that I am very happy to share. I am excited in sharing this. There is a quote, a statement that is saying we are not upset enough. As to meaning that if we were really upset, we would do something. But beautiful soul family, we are in the times of the birthing pains. Now, I wanted to shed some light on some things, and I will. This is going to be a teaching, a message, a clarity, an observation that I am sharing. And you will not, you may not like it. But you know, when a person is sick for quite a long time, and what's being introduced into their system is something totally different that is supposed to heal and eradicate, to bring forth change. It's like a child that doesn't want any parts of it. They may even run away. And if you are in that same mode, there are many other messages. I have thousands. I don't want to say thousands, but there are a lot of messages. And I encourage you to check them out. During this time frame, the reason why I was not saying much is because I was instructed not to. There comes a time frame where it's important to understand the value of the messages. What do I mean by that? Well, when a message is brought out, it's not going to be always for that time frame. I have been doing this for years. I had taken off some messages because I was shadow banned and so many other different reasons. And then I was encouraged by Yahuwah to put them back up. So I've been doing this for years. But this is not about me, which is why I don't show my face. This is about Yahuwah. This is not about one, me. This is about us all. And it's really sad. It's really sad because, like it's brought out in the Holy Scriptures, Yahuwah sent his prophets. He sent his anointed, known today as chosen. And they go through a lot. When you're just scrolling through so easily, his children are going through a lot. They're caught up in situations. The wicked come together to share one purse indeed. And they know they're coming against the innocent. They know that they're coming against the forbidden fruit. What do I mean by the forbidden fruit? Well, Yahuwah said, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. That is a forbidden fruit. That's the apple of Yahuwah's eye. And at first, when they're still conscious, this is before the heart is waxed cold. At first, they're hesitant, just like the woman was hesitant. But after the interaction with the devil, and they undersold their soul to receive trinkets that are temporary, it's a con. Because it's not Yahuwah that is turning these people into dust to later on be devoured. It is the one that they serve. Yahuwah sends his children. He sends his prophets. But before he sends them, he trains them. He deals with them. He cleans them up. We are ones that are fully accountable. We fall. We get back up. We get discouraged. We get disheartened. But then we remember. We choose to heal. Heal people. Healed people. Let me say that right. Healed people. Heal people. When you look at the word healed, that is a past tense. It means they went through a lot and chose to remove themselves from being hurt. To not be victimized, but victorious. You know, I was just watching Yah's Chosen. I couldn't complete it. And this is a sidebar, but I have to, it just sickens me. It sickens me, but Yahuwah did show me this. And I talked about it. I talked about the Gitmo list. There are a lot of messages that I put up. Some of them get on and some of them are not. And those who are messengers understand what I'm talking about. Because of the time frame. So they don't get put out. And a lot of messages are shadow banned. And you know, Yahuwah prepares the table, but the enemies are out there as well. Gang stalking still continues, monitoring reporters. The children of the Most High Yah go through a lot of things. They're shining light. And what it attracts is moth. And at times, it's very discouraging because these moths are not butterflies. They may go through a transformation, but it's not of righteousness. But it's like moth to a flame. But what's so amazing is that Yahuwah sealed his children. I must admit, years ago, I stated that, well, actually, let me get too far ahead of myself at this point in this conversation. But as I was putting up my messages, I was talking about the cloning. I was talking about how the celebrities you see aren't really who you see, and if you take a look at them, you would see the changes. I was talking about businesses and how there are a lot of businesses that do a lot of dirt behind the scenes. A lot of people do a lot of dirt behind the scenes in order to come out looking clean. But they're anything but clean. These things you can find in these messages, and it can be overwhelming because there are a lot, but this is Yahuwah sharing, informing, warning. There are also teachings, going into the Holy Scriptures, breaking it down, seeing patterns. Nothing is new under the sun. So I invite you to take a look. You see, when information is given, there's no need to steal, but to receive. There comes a point in time when you're given pearls, you got to see the value in it because it's about you. It's about you changing your life. Beautiful soul family. I'm going to mention a lot in this message. And based on you determine what is important to you. It's like a person. I've said it plenty of times. You get 5 people looking at a painting. And based on who they are, their experiences, their likes and their dislikes, how they learn, each person is going to have a different outlook, a different takeaway from that one picture that everyone is seeing. You know, beautiful soul family, I also talked about being a photographer. And well, anyways, as I was looking at this broadcast, she brought out different things that really disheartened me. I worked for Life Touch for a small period of time. And to be a photographer, to be able to go into the schools and to take the pictures and to see the children, to take pictures, to capture that smile, and to see the parents are happy, because there were certain schools where parents were very interactive. And I loved it. I loved it. And those times have changed. What I am seeing, beautiful soul family, is the heart's wax cold. It's not a blaze storm, but it's happening over time. And it's not just me, of course, that is seeing these changes. There are a lot of people who are seeing changes. But what disheartens me and what makes me sad is that these pictures, these companies, it disheartens me, but it doesn't surprise me. As I brought out, Yahuwah showed me that these businesses sold the soul of their companies. Could a company have a soul? What I mean by that is they sold a spiritual aspect of their business so that it can be in the hearts and the minds of people, so that they can be popular, so that they can have some longevity. And it's sad. For those who still have hearts and is beating, it's sad. It's sad that one of my experiences in my life of being a photographer, of encouraging even children to smile and to feel good about themselves, and then to note and to find out really that these pictures are catalogs for the filth. Walmart and Wayfair. I'm going to put her broadcast on this matter in the description box, but it's pretty much, it's all around. I I took a while and was off social media, and I even uninstalled some apps because I just didn't want to be a part of it. But here I am. It's important to take a stance. You know, it's really sad, but there's a lot of information coming out. Very long time ago, I'm going to say years and years ago, I had a dream where there was 3 or 4, I'm going to call them nationalist pastors. And they were running after me. I didn't know why they were running after me, but they were running after me, and I remember me running for my life. And it's weird. It sounds weird, but what I'm about to say, but I turned into Jackie Chan. I turned into Jackie Chan as I was hanging under the truck trying to get away. Nationalists, preachers running after me. And that's really symbolic, because even though I may see myself running away, what Yahuwah showed me at that period of time is that there are certain pastors who will be running after the true children of the Most High Yah. And they're going to have to run for their life to get away, to do things that they never thought that they would do. You know, as I have not been sharing, Yahuwah has been showing me a lot. I've been writing it down. And all the honor and all the glory and praise goes to the Most High Yah. But there's a lot to take a look at and observe. And it saddens me, because this world is inverted. And there's only but a few that are pure enough to see. You know, our Abba Yah, he says it's going to be like the times of Noah. Noah wasn't perfect, but he was pure. During a time frame when they were doing high witchcraft, which is manipulations and editing, so, you know, of the DNA. So this is nothing new. It's like a shark that comes above the water and then beneath the water and above the water and beneath the water. And just like I mentioned before, spiritual then physical, spiritual then physical. And so now, you know, all these things that we're coming to see, and it's confirming. You know, there was one guy that stated that they need new conspiracies because all the things that people were talking about that everyone was saying was not true is actually true. When we look into the Holy Scriptures, we see that Abba Yah has given us the information. He didn't hold anything back. He's given us the truth. And there are those who try to hide the truth. So why? So they can continue doing the things that they're doing. But here's the truth of the matter of that. And here's why the children of the Most High Yah are being combated against so much. Satan is making his food. See, his judgment is to devour dust. To devour it. Abba Yah, he took the dust and formed and blew into the nostrils. Even though he formed the body out of dust, it still wasn't a living being until he blew into the nostrils of Adam. Then he became a living being. In 2 Timothy 3:16 and 17, it says that he breathed. Who's he? Abba Yahuwah. He breathed into the scriptures. So when we're going into Bible study, Bible reading, prayer, our lives are being revitalized. You're being healed. Beautiful soul family. I did messages about how we need to fight for our children. When I say our children, I don't just mean just in your nucleus family. I mean children, period. The importance of what is sacred. Our Abba Yah. He separates the sacred from the profane. As I look in these time frames especially, you know, I don't mean to be all over the place, but I got to talk about it. And maybe I will revisit it. But, you know, even, you know, our Abba Yah, he's given us everything, given us the truth. He says, men and women will no longer see the value in one another. And why is that? Because they'll be released into reprobated minds. Abba Yah warned us against certain things. He said for the mother, do not raise your daughter to be a prostitute, because you will tear down the whole community. In the word, we learn about Proverbs. We learn about the woman of Yahuwah. How the elders can gather together with their heads up high, because their wife, their complement, has integrity. But nowadays, that doesn't even matter. The hearts are wax cold. Not too long ago, Yahuwah was showing me about how these things, yes, are coming out, but as people are reading them, you know, my thing is this: enough reading. Let's get to judgment. But you see, beautiful soul family, they have utilized these files as a means of a distraction. They're long gone. They did their big heist and they are gone. What we're seeing is clones. They made their getaway. And so we're caught up in all these files. But what about the judgment? Have no fear, however, because the vengeance belongs to Yahuwah. A lot of people are acquiescing. They're giving up. They're led by fear. You know, when we look, I haven't really looked into the files, it's just by passing, but a lot of companies, as I mentioned in the prior message, some years back, that they, especially during the COVID timeframe, like I call it DAVIC, but a lot of businesses, even before then, really, they decided that they have to make alliances with certain entities and occultists so that they can have a business, so that they can be in the hearts and the minds of people, of the general population, so that they can generate a business, generate a surplus. There's a lot of information showing how, even with movies, They will go to certain people to get their movies out there. So it can, I guess, gain traction, popularity. So there's a lot of things happening in the spiritual plane in order to move forward their physical accomplishments or physical niches or whatever they're doing in this physical plane. But then when you look at the movies are subliminals. And the script itself is a criteria. It's controlled. It doesn't teach you to pray when you see crazy things going on. It teaches you to run, to be afraid, to loot. It says that you're going to starve instead of just relying on Yahuwah and trusting that he will bring us through. So these are very much intentional, they're very deliberate. What is sad is that, over a period of time, Yahuwah was showing me about these businesses. I'm not a name brand person. I'm very humble. Humbled by, when I was younger, I used to be in brand names. But as I got older, I'm not. When you know better, you do better. And Yahuwah is showing me, and I believe I shared this in prior messages, especially about those who were enslaved, both under the grips of in Misraim in Egypt, and also from the colonists. I talked about branding, and Yahuwah showed me something quite recent. It's just like pulling it together. So like if you're doing a cornrow, you're doing a braid, and you're braiding it through, interweaving it, and you're able to see how it's coming together. And then you see such a beautiful style. Well, Yahuwah was showing me about when there were those that were enslaved by the colonists. And they were utilized to come against their own people, to lie to them, to make them comfortable to a degree so that they won't leave for freedom, escape. And well, we see the same things happening today. This too is brought out in other messages about pastors and who they have placed themselves in positions in the pulpit. Now, what's so interesting is that not only a couple of days ago, Yahuwah was showing me about pulpits. They're pulling people into the pit when they should be pulling people out of the pit, pulling people out of a mind frame, pulling people out of danger. And the opposite in this inverted world is taking place. So messages like this will be shadow banned. It'll be blocked. Not a lot of people would get to it, so on and so forth. I've been going through this for years. But hearts are waxing cold. Yahuwah is showing me that even though these files are coming out, more and more people are doing these things in small degrees. And the more that people do it, the more that it doesn't seem as harsh. When I look at that, it's sad, but it says it in the Holy Scriptures. The witnesses come and they're sharing their testimonies, and the people don't like to hear it because they came to a point of not only being wax cold, their hearts are frozen. there is a disconnect. Their DNA has changed. So when they do things, they don't know why they're doing it. When they hate people, they don't know why they hate it. Because they are remotely controlled. And not by Yahuwah. But anyhow, beautiful soul family. It's so sad to see how a lot of companies, I'm happy they're being exposed, because it's that time frame. Now, what's so interesting is that in Matthew chapter 24, let's go there. Matthew chapter 24. I'm reading from the Sefer Bible, Matthew 24, and I'm going to start with verse 10. All right, verse 10, and it reads, and then shall many be offended and shall be betrayed. Let's go to verse 8. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Let's take a pause. Our King and Savior said they hate you, but no, they hated me first. Verse 10, and then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because the transgression of the Torah shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. The love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. Hearts will wax cold. Not all at once, not at the same time, but there is something that has taken place to where the hearts are in the process of waxing cold. There has been a disconnect, a marking, an imprint. Beautiful soul family. As I said in the beginning, this is going to be a message that is like all over the place, it would seem. But for those who are listening, you may get many different messages all in this one. You may just focus on one, so on and so forth. What Yahuwah has showed me was Rebecca. There was two women that were pregnant, and they're both talked about in Genesis. One of them is Genesis chapter 25. That one is Rebecca, which is the wife of Isaac, and she was pregnant with twins. But we also have another account of a woman that was pregnant with twins, and her name is Tamar. She was the one that pretended to be a prostitute, and she had her interaction with Yehuda. She was pregnant with twins. So, in the account that's brought out in Genesis chapter 38, verse 27, the mother is Tamar. And the twins were Peretz and Zerach. And I want to find out about the meaning of their names. So I looked at the names of Tamar's sons. And Tamar's son's name is Pharez, otherwise known as Perez. Now we know that Perez, for those who do know and have heard, that Perez is a Latin name, a Spanish surname. But here it reads, Perez is a name with two primary origins. It is a Hebrew name meaning breach, bust forth, or break through, derived from the story of Perez in Genesis chapter 38, verse 29. It's also, as I brought out earlier, a Spanish surname. Now I looked at her other son's name, which is Zerah. And Zerah's name is shining, dawning, or rising, often associated with brightness, radiance, and the break of day. Now, her son Perez was the line of which our King and Savior came through. But Zerah, on the other hand, was different. As we go back, names have meaning. So when we look at the names of Perez and we understand that there is much meaning in the name. Now Perez was the one, he was the bloodline of which it all began. When we look at the situation of how the sons of Judah, I mean, it even goes further back when you take a look at it. When you consider all that was taking place, when you consider the cause and effect, the domino effects, it was to prevent, it was to block. And it's so interesting because what were they blocking? What were the sons of Yehuda blocking? They were blocking a change that was to take place. When we go back to, when we look into the account of Daniel, and our Abba Yah had sent, he sent Archangel Gabriel to give Daniel understanding and clarity about the vision he received. The prince of Persia, principality of Persia, was there to block, there to hinder, there to prevent Archangel Gabriel from fulfilling the command that our Abba Yahuwah had sent Archangel Gabriel to do. No word from Yahuwah will return back void. And in so many ways, this is what is still trying to take place. You see, when you consider the different things that happened, that we see in the Holy Scriptures, it doesn't just start at that appointed time. There's always a cause and effect from something that happened before. Now, at first, I wasn't going to speak on this. But see, it's not about having bits and pieces. Sometimes it's about going through it to have a full understanding. And even this full understanding for whoever is looking at this or hearing this, some people are caught. Some people are taught and some people are caught. That means that they catch it by ear, but it activates something. It activates a knowing. And so the thing is my people perish for the lack of knowledge. But when we are able to have certain knowledge, certain activations are taking place, and people are there to fulfill their purpose. There are those, when you look at the farmer, and this is just yet another sidebar, but when you look at the farmer who has a seed, when you look at a farmer who has a seed, there are still things that must take place. They have to find the right location. Is this a plant that is to have direct sun? Or is this a plant that doesn't need to have direct sun? Is this a plant that needs to be constantly watered? Or is it a plant that doesn't necessarily need to be watered as much? When the farmer finds the location and considers the soil has to be dug up. It has to be conditioned, meaning some soils have to be soft. Maybe there needs to be certain additives to the soil. There's a lot of things that take place before the seed is dropped and hidden. There's certain pressurizations. It's not too light and it's not too harsh. If it's too light, then there is no breakthrough. If it's too harsh, then all is gone and destroyed. So when we consider the cause and effect of the cause and effect of the cause and effect, the domino effects that take place, we're seeing that there is something, things are taking place to block, to hinder. But no matter what blockages are placed into position, as a weed is placed to hinder the growth of the seed beneath the surface, the miracle still has a breakthrough amongst breakthroughs. See, in the line of Perez, even before that, there was blockages trying to prevent that from taking place. But when we come to understand that there is nothing, no word will ever return back void, it really does give you an opportunity of understanding the beauty of when in the very beginning, Yahuwah said, let there be light. He commanded forth, let there be light in a area, in a world, in a circumstance, a situation where it was dark. It says it was formless, void, and dark. And Abba Yahuwah said, let there be light. And in the midst of that, he's observing and seeing how that is all taking place. And when the light came forth, he said, and it was good. As we look at these time frames and we're seeing how Yahuwah had commanded forth the solutions to take place, the enmity that will separate the sacred from the profane, the seed of the woman from the seed of Satan. And we see how there are different blockages that take place. No word has returned back void. Now we see here in Perez's name, his name means breakthrough, breach, right? It says breach, burst forth, breakthrough. The breach meaning that even though a system is set up, the breach is a means of something not taking place according to plan. It's been breached. It's been altered. Burst forth. Burst forth means that there was blockages. And with great force on the other side, it was a burst forth. It was a breakthrough. And this helps us to see something very beautiful. It helps us to see when there is seed time and harvest, that is exactly what takes place. There is a breach to a system that tries to hold back things that are meant to happen. There is a bursting forth And there is a breakthrough. Now in the other side, just as we see, and I know this may be too deep for some, but oh well. Just as we see with Perez's name, we look at Zerah. And what's so interesting about Zerah is it means shining. And interesting enough, as I think about Zerah's name and what it means, it's, for me, it's morning star. So just as, now, glory be to the Most High Yah, okay? Just as Perez and his bloodline, there was the domino effects of how our King and Savior was going to come from his bloodline, right? We see that with Zerah, his name is shining, right? What else does it also mean? It's shining, it's rising, it's dawning. What does that mean to you? It means that there is someone else coming from that bloodline, from the same wrist that had the red string. What happened in the midst of that was there was one hand that popped out, but then was pulled back, and another hand came out. So they wanted to know, they wanted to get it together because they were seeing all this taking place, the midwives. So they put a red string around the hand that came out after the other hand was pulled in, to know who was who. So when they did that and they put the string on that hand, they said that the hand that had the red string was first. Let the seer see and the hearers hear. We can see how Yahuwah has been giving us the truth, showing us what to be aware of. Nothing is new under the sun. But what Yahuwah brings that is not new is always on time. Now, as we read about, or we know about, hopefully we know about it. If not, please go into Genesis chapter 25 and Genesis chapter 38. And, in Genesis chapter 25 especially, it shows that Rebecca was pregnant with two nations. We know her two sons as Yaakov and Esau, otherwise known as Jacob and Esau. It's so interesting. Yahuwah just showed me Esau. There are those who see what others are about to be bereft with, and they try so hard to hold the person back from receiving what's meant to come towards them. Because it's all a process and it's all done, but there's times of release. And so that's why Satan does so much. Now, as I mentioned, Rebecca, she was pregnant with twins. And we know them as Jacob and Esau. A struggle, even from the womb. A struggle. A competition. A one-sided competition. Because even as I've mentioned before, and as other people have mentioned and come to see, we are all winners. We're all winners. But there are different mindsets. Like I said, when information is given freely and yet there are people who do whatever to try to take, they're in a survival mindset where they feel that they have to steal, kill, and destroy in order to make it. But that shouldn't be. But that's because they're not drawing from within. Beautiful soul family. So I believe everything, of course, has its purpose. So they considered to be the first to come out. But really, it wasn't. We are seeing how, we may think that these things that we see the occultists in, that it's just like happened yesterday or maybe a year or two back, but these are plans. These are years in the making. This is why I stated in a prior message, if we only knew how invested they are, we will come to understand how long this has been going, how dedicated people are for this cause. The Philistines, when they were in battle with the Israelites, and the Israelites who thought they were in good standing, they were excited when they saw the Ark of the Covenant. And the Philistines were worried. And their commander said, "Gird yourself as men. For if you don't win this, you will be their slaves." You see, beautiful soul family, there has been an alliance behind the scenes where there are nations coming together. And they have bent a knee to Satan. Okay? And the main thing is to come against Yahuwah's children. To make sure that they don't lift up their heads. To make sure that they're not wealthy. Because, Satan still kills and destroys. Right? But anyhow, they have bent a knee. And the children of the Most High Yah have in so many ways taken a stance. And they're not choosy for the words, for as brought out in Ephesians chapter 6. But Yah gave us spiritual armor, but he also said that we are to speak with boldness. We are his ambassadors. We are to have the full armor on, consistently be in prayer, knowing that we are ambassadors, speak with boldness. But in order to speak with boldness, our relationship with Yahuwah has to be on point. Zechariah was utilized for those young builders and veteran builders to not give up, even when they feel like giving up, even when they feel like it's like things are being wasted. Nothing is wasted. There are times where there are medicines, in order for them to be ready during a time frame, and I'm talking about good medicine, they have to be prepared during a time frame where it's not exactly of season. When I say not exactly of season, I mean when it's not truly needed. But then that season comes, and that medicine is there. That truth is there to be embraced, so there can be healing. So there's many processes taking place behind the scenes, both for the good and the bad. Now, I think it's funny, but for the children of the Most High, this is not a surprise. Okay. So quite recently, the Iranians, they were burning down these statues, these idols of Baal. And it was bringing me to the accounts in the Holy Scriptures and into some many messages that Yahuwah had led me to speak about Mount Carmel I even talked about one point in time about slides and what they act their pagan roots. There's many statues around, even if you really take a look at it, and they're showing you what they're all about, what they've been doing. It's just that certain people don't have the eyes to see. They're blinded by fantasy. And some people, they see it, but they acquiesce because they feel like it's too much. I would say last week, especially, Yahuwah was showing me about a lot of companies, brand names. And as I was trying to bring out earlier, the colonists, when there were some people who were enslaved and they were escaping for their freedom, other plantation owners would find them, and when they would either keep them or bring them back to the plantation that they were trying to get away from, and they were branded. They were branded with sigils, branded with the colonist family name. And right now, as I speak, Yahuwah is telling me how they were also branded internally when their mothers were raped. They were changing DNA, branding DNA then. And it's so sad. But Yahuwah is showing me how there were those who were moles. And they became moles because they were tired. They said, if we can't beat them, might as well join them. Might as well acquiesce. So long as they can get the validation from their colonist masters. Beautiful soul family. So they would come against their own, just so they can get the pat on the back, wear a blazer or some nice pants. They were even used to whip the backs of their own family members and once friends. They did it to save themselves. They decided to join the evil to not be overcome by evil, if that even makes sense. There are people who become evil to take down evil, but they're not doing anything except for being evil. It is the house that is divided that doesn't stand. Love wins in the end, but love itself doesn't become evil. Beautiful soul family. So when we look at these different things taking place, well, it's happening still, okay? So as I mentioned about the colonists and how they branded those that they enslaved, so if they got away again, they would see the branding. Now, I mentioned this to a taxi driver. And sometimes when I speak on things, I think maybe I shouldn't have said it, but everything happens for a reason. And I was explaining that when are these people going to come out of cycles? So, as I mentioned in a prior message, and the reason why I'm saying it like that is because these messages have been out for quite some time. They've been out for quite some time. But this world will distract and do so many other different tactics to hide the truth. As I said again, you see people that are in the public eye. They're right there with the flashing lights. But you don't know how much they invested to get there. You don't know how much they sacrifice. You know what? It's so interesting. Glory, hallelujah. I am trying to stick to one and then carry on to the next and carry on to the next. But you see, it's been quite some time since I've been sharing. Beautiful soul family. If you only knew how much they sacrificed, and before they're sacrificing, if you knew how much they went under with their interactions with the devil to be at a point to where their views have been changed, to where they're thirsty and desperate. There's a lot of people who just want to live normal lives. But Satan brings them to a point of thirst and desperation that they end up doing things and it's crazy. You know, this brings me, in this case, in terms of how people go into a point of desperation. Yahuwah was showing me was bringing me back to the account of Elijah on Mount Carmel. And there was 850 sorceress. And they were doing so many things to call down Baal. The god that they worshiped was Baal. And so Elijah was utilized at that appointed time to bring back the hearts of the people to Yahuwah. And that's what this message is about. I'm sharing so much, I'm saying so much, it's all coming from different directions, but it's about your heart. For those people whose hearts aren't wax cold as yet, maybe it's in a process, but maybe you still can feel. Maybe there's still some functioning going on. You know, Yahuwah is showing me, like I mentioned earlier, that about the child who is sick and their parent is giving them the medicine. And they don't want the medicine because the medicine is bitter. So they will do so much to not take the medicine, or they will actually run away. A beautiful soul family. Here's how you know it gets worse. When they take the medicine and it does nothing. They don't taste the bitterness. And I'm in hopes that this message gets to as much people as possible. So, you know, those who may even still taste the bitterness. That's good within itself, because at least you can still taste. I was once, well, not once, but back in the past, I was in the medical field, and there are stages before a person dies. They lose their senses. They are no longer interested in eating or drinking, and it's very sad. And as I brought out in a prior message many years ago, especially during the Dalvik time, there are people who are, let's just call it, falling asleep in so many ways, that they won't even be bothered by the bitterness of its taste, where they stop feeling because their hearts are wax cold. Beautiful soul family. Elijah was trying to get to the people so they can bring their hearts back, to reignite their hearts. You know, when I think of hearts wax cold, I think of actual wax. When you're looking at the flame of a candle and the wax is hot, but the flame is still going. And there comes a time frame when that flame is gone and the wax gets cold. It hardens. And you have to take something sharp. Let's say there's some wax that falls on the table. So you have to take something that is sharp in order to get it up, or get like a nice warm rag and then wipe up the rest of the residue. But it's sad because this is what's happening right now. Hearts are not, people are not even, the only way they are even wondering about their heart is if a watch tells them about their heart, or if they go to the doctor and the doctor gets their heart rate, and then that's when it's like, okay, I'm doing good, or I need to watch out. But all in between, all they got to do is put their hands on their chest. And feel. And the sad part about it is there's so much distractions that people are not getting in tune with their vitals. Beautiful soul family. Let's get back to the two nations that were in Rebecca's womb. There's a fight. Who's going to come out first? Who's going to come on the top? And the one that was supposedly the first had a red string around his wrist. But he was the one that Yahuwah hated. I'm saying so much, but then I'm not saying so much. You have to have ears to listen. You have to have eyes to see. What's so interesting is that the Iranians, they were burning down the statues of Baal. Now, for those who are the children of the Most High Yah, they would say, yes, this is great. Because when you think about the righteous kings as brought out in the Holy Scriptures, that's what they did. They were for the hearts of Yahuwah. They took down the high places and even the low places, the places that were hidden. They brought down idols and statues. We read about it in the New Testament about how they would go ahead and take all of their books and all of their items. And sorry for the noise in the background, but they would take all of their stuff after they heard the truth, and they put it in the fire to burn. They put it in the fire to burn, to be destroyed once and for all. So, beautiful soul family, there are those who are doing the opposite. Instead of drawing to Yahuwah, instead of drawing to truth, they have clung to the Baals, to the Dagons, to the Isis, to the Nimrod. They're going in the opposite direction. Now, what's so amazing is that there were a lot of nationalist pastors and preachers who are totally backing the ones that call themselves the true chosen ones of Yahuwah. The Uish.
Americans know that Israel and the United States share common values, that we defend common interests, that we face common enemies. Iran's leaders know that too. You know, for them, you're the great Satan, we're the little Satan.
Did you have cell phones? You have cell phones here? No? You're holding a piece of Israel right there. You know that? I mean, a lot of the cell phones, the medicines, the foods, you eat cherry tomatoes. You know where that was made? And they said, oh, Israel is isolated. Israel can't break out of the siege. No, I said, we will. Some of them have stopped weapon component shipments. Can we get out of this? Yes, we can. We're pretty good at producing weapons. Like intelligence, we share both with the United States. a good chunk of your intel. So those in Western Europe who think they can deny us things will not succeed. We can break this siege, and we will.
But the thing is, beautiful soul families, that surprisingly, and yet not surprisingly, they're exposing themselves. But why are they doing it? Because they believe they're at a point, a position to where they don't have to keep up that mask anymore. Netanyahu stated that because they had burned a statue, it was an act of war. Now, let's take that, let's pause that, and let's go back to the account of Elijah and the 850 false prophets on Mount Carmel. You see, it was Netanyahu who was in conversation with Obama, and he said, listen, I'm the little devil and you are the big devil. This is why we have to understand this is a spiritual battle. This is not about looks. This is not about flesh and blood. This is a spiritual battle. This is about people who are working so hard behind the scenes to get your heart to be wax cold. These are the ones that didn't create you. But Yahuwah created you. And he created you to have a heart that beats. To be alive and not dead. To be abundant and not in poverty. But as you have eyes to see, can you see what is going on? Beautiful soul family. The Baal worshipers came in their regalia, their tools, their incense, their jewels, calling on their Baal. And they were going at it for quite some time. They even put themselves on the altar and started cutting themselves, shedding their own blood. As I mentioned, there's nothing new under the sun. When you understand how much they are sacrificing, what they've done behind the scenes, what they've nipped and tucked, what they've given up, it becomes even more real. This isn't a game. This is a spiritual battle. And the spiritual battle has been happening for a very, very, very long time. And there is an awakening taking place. But they want for you to stay asleep. Stay unaware. Beautiful soul family, Yahuwah said Elijah to try to reignite their hearts, to bring their hearts, bring them back, bring their love back to Yahuwah. You see, King Ahab and his wife Jezebel, they were bringing people and pulling them down into the pit. Not bringing them and pulling them out of the pit. And it's so sad. Now, let's go back to, I guess I'm bouncing all over the place, but let's go to the colonists and their branding. And those who had acquiesced to that system, they bent the knee to that system a long time ago. So they ended up being puppets. They ended up being like what we see with certain diviners. How they are bulldogs, protectors of a system that should be brought down. I mentioned in a prior message about Abraham Lincoln and another politician, a group of people that were coming against a certain society, because if these builders continue to build the fabrics of the government, then it will surely be destroyed. But they didn't win that battle. And so we're seeing in many architectures all around, not building for the better, but for the worse. But glory, hallelujah, is for a period of time. Beautiful soul family. When we look at all the different things that are taking place now, and we're seeing how Netanyahu, and all those that are the like, who really do not know what's going on in their DNA, and maybe if they did know, they're trying to keep that secret. The many of Jewish people that do sacrifices in their tunnels, and how they've been subliminally controlling the community that they're in, and how they're in media, entertainment, so on and so forth. But it's just so amazing how he said that because Iranians are destroying the Baal statues, that this is an act of war. Then you know the truth. Like I mentioned earlier, the man said there are a lot of people who had conspiracies, and we were saying that they are liars, only to find out that they've been telling the truth the whole time. Those who decided not to take certain solutions were ridiculed, ostracized, segregated, but now they're seeing that they were on the right track. Well, okay, finally, let's get back to the branding. So Yahuwah has showed me that there are people, the colonists, who branded those that they enslaved, and they had their bulldogs protecting their establishments, their institutions that these colonists set up. But we see it happening today. The things that happened abruptly back then, they're still happening subliminally, beneath the surface. And, you know, those that were enslaved and branded, their lives is something that we need to learn from. Because if we think that, oh, it's them and not me or not us, then a person will not understand how they're caught up in that cycle. And that's why it's important to understand, well, how did they get in that cycle to begin with? And when you understand how they got into that cycle, is because jealousy and envy, and not just so much on the physical plane, but in the spiritual plane. You realize that nobody is exempt. It says that there were those who worshiped the beast and took the mark of the beast, but they were all deceived. You see, because Satan is making his food. He's making dust. Nowadays, there are people who spend thousands, hundreds and thousands of dollars on brand names, believing that because they're having a jacket or a purse or pants or so on and so forth, that they are really truly living the life. And they themselves will protect such a system because it so-called makes them look good. I wrote a book called Linen, and I spoke about it briefly, about linen, about those who were enslaved, and the fashion industry, and so on and so forth, and how it's just so many things that are used to bring down humanity, not to encourage growth, but to hinder it. So there are those who will fight a system just so that they can continue to wear the brand names, continue to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars. But they are in a cycle and they don't know it. And I was saying, I wonder when they're going to come out of that cycle. When they're going to realize that they are the ones enslaved by such a system. You see, Yahuwah, he sends some of his prophets to not only bear forth the message verbally, but by the means of actions. We see this in the life of Isaiah and Ezekiel and other prophets. And if people would just take their time to pay attention to those who have been enslaved, they will look and learn and say, you know what, I need to draw to Yahuwah, because if I don't, if I forsake Yahuwah, I'm going to be caught up in such a system. I'm going to be enslaved and I'm going to be branded. And when I think I'm free and I think I need to defend such a system, I will not only die once, I will die twice. Spiritually and physically. A lot is being said here. I'm going back and forth, to and fro. I apologize. But beautiful soul family, this is about the process of the hearts waxing cold. This is about two nations in one room. One striving to be on top. And in order to be on top, they are holding back. But the tables are turning. What side are you on? Until the next message, have a beautiful and wonderful day. This message is to be continued. Keep your eyes open, because the truth is being exposed.